Hello again, my fellow Jeti users, and welcome back to my workshop. The question was asked on a Facebook group a few days ago about how to reset the milliamp counter on a central box, and I stuck in the usual reply that you do it in the Device Explorer, into the central box, the Telemetry min-max menu, and there are options there for a manual reset or where you can assign a switch so that you can reset the counter. And the reason for this is that the milliamp counter on a central box does not reset to 0 each time you switch on. It just keeps accumulating. And this is great for working out or keeping a check on how much you've used during a flying session from a freshly charged battery. But another answer came in from Stein, Oyvind Rud, which said use a logic switch based on some value of battery voltage and milliamp hours to automatically reset the counter for you. And I thought that was absolutely brilliant. In fact, I wondered why I didn't think of it myself. It was so good. And so I think Stein Oyvind's answer is so good it's worthy of a video to show you what to do. So what do we mean? Well, we have here the battery voltage and milliamp counter for battery 1 of the central box. And I guess you really only need it to do it for one of the two inputs because they should be roughly equal if your central box is working properly. So you would normally go into the Device Explorer, into the central box, down to the Telemetry min-max, and you can either go there and press your programming dial to clear it out now, and it will set the milliamp counter back to 0, or you can assign a switch to it. I think most of us would just automatically assign a switch there. The snag is at the start of a flying session you've forgotten to move the switch to set it to 0, or not too much of a snag but a bit irksome, you can't remember which switch it was and you have to come all the way through the menus here to find which switch it was. The reason being is in some of the Jeti devices, the software inside the device allows you to select a switch like this. You don't have to create a function and a channel to do it. It does it all hidden behind the scenes. It's called a command. And if you press the little command button here, it'll tell you list all the commands for this central box. So at the moment, the only command in this central box is logic switch 2 is running the clear min-max values. So how do we create our logic switch? Well, we have to start with telemetry controls. So we go into there, and we set up our two telemetry controls, one for the voltage and one for the milliamp hours. So we come in here, enable it, it's a switch type, and condition X is greater than, and then some value for the voltage, which would indicate pretty much a freshly charged pack. I'm using Jeti power ions, so I've gone for 8 volts. Although they're charged up to 8.4 volts, by the time you get to the flying field, it's probably showing 8.3, 8.2. Anyway, I've set 8 as the voltage would indicate it's pretty much a new pack that's gone on. Set your default to -100 so that if the telemetry drops out, it will stay switched off, because this says switch on if the voltage is above 8. Right, off we go. And let's look at the milliamp hours. Much the same again, condition X is greater than. Now I've put in 10 here, otherwise it's going to take me hours to get it up to a sensible value. But you'd be looking for some milliamp hour value which is not compatible with the voltage that you've got. So it's going to be a few hundred milliamp hours. In other words, if you plugged in a battery that's 8 volts, above 8 volts, there is no way that it could have delivered so many hundreds of milliamp hours and still be above the threshold voltage you've set. So ignore the 10 I've put in, that's just for the purpose of this demonstration. And again, default -100, i.e. switched off. Now we can take those and put them in a logic switch. And so control 1 is MX1, which was the voltage. MX2 was the milliamp hour counter. It's switched on because I've already pulled at more milliamp hours than I've set in that control. And the logical condition is AND. Now, the way that this would work is that the moment you switch on, it would, with a fully charged battery installed, it would recognize it, and the screen would offer you, do you want to reset the min-max values now, yes or no? And you don't get much time to do it before it times out, but part of the screen is covered over with the big yellow banner that says, aha, receiver bound. And so what I've done here is build in a delay for it actually trying to reset. What you do is come along here and change that sloped ramp, just press the programming dial, changes it to a vertical ramp, in other words, instant switch on off. Come along here and set something like a 2 or 3 second delay, so that when you switch the transmitter on, then you switch the receiver on, it gets telemetry data, it immediately recognizes, oh, high voltage, high milliamp hours, but instead of switching on the logic switch straight away, it will wait 2 seconds and then switch it on. So it just gives you a bit of time. Let's take it up to 3 seconds in the hope that we get rid of the receiver bound banner. So that's your logic switch created. Now, there is another option. You might still want a manual override for some reason as well. So what you can do is create another logic switch, which takes logic switch 1 that we've just created as one of its input, a physical switch, no, I'll say no, as the other input, with the condition this time being OR. So either the automatic version triggers it or your physical switch triggers it. You don't need a delay here because the delay is already built into the automatic one. And say OK. And now you can go back to your central box, down to telemetry min max, and then in the usual manner press the button here and install whichever switch you want. I've used logic switch 2 here. If you don't want the manual override, you just be the logic switch 1. Okay to that, and let's show you the thing in action. So here's a partially discharged battery. I'll switch off the central box, switch this off, shut it down. I'm going to change the battery over for a freshly charged Jeti power ion, switch everything back on, and off we go. Switch on the receiver, receiver bound, 2, 3 seconds, there we are. That's why it was worth having the delay, because you don't get much time. Say apply changes, done, and it's zeroed it for us. There we are. And if you didn't want to, you just press the no button and it would not zero it for you. So, great idea, Steinoivend. And there you are, folks. Have fun with that.